There are people that will keep you in the past. Now, first things first, what is the past? When folks think of the past, they think it implies things that actually happened in previous times. Whether something happened yesterday or 100 years ago, they think that is the past. Well, it's not really that simple. The past can also imply ideas, decisions, and especially expectations that are not examined nor updated. Let me repeat that. The past can also imply ideas, decisions, and expectations that are not examined nor updated. A decision is something that was made, but it was made based on an expectation. And expectations all center around ideas of what there is to gain. So ideas, decisions, and expectations are intertwined with one another. You can't have one without the other two. So let's keep it to expectations. When someone has an expectation that they don't examine because they have no intention of examining it, because what they do and how they relate to others are based on that expectation. So they've invested a lot in this expectation, so they don't want to look at it. When someone has this attitude, they are operating in the past. For example, let's say you have a woman that cuts the end of her ham. Well, in the past, where her grandmother lived, they had small pots. So you had to cut pieces of the ham or else it wouldn't fit in the pot. So she learned how to cut the edges of the ham. But now she's living with her husband who earns a good salary, and their oven is big enough to take the whole ham. But because she was conditioned to cut the edges of the ham, that's how she operates. But she needs to examine why she operates like that. When others point out to her that what she's doing doesn't really add up, she needs to examine it. If others try to project things onto her or to frame her, she should recognize that and shouldn't take it. But at least she must examine what's going on. What often happens though is that a lot of folks don't want to examine anything. Because to examine something, for example, the expectations they're holding on to, would mean that they have to be mentally challenged. And that's something a lot of folks don't want to be, mentally challenged. They avoid mental challenges almost at all costs, often even at the expense of their own safety. A guy who wants to knock someone out because he feels disrespected is holding on to the past. Why? When he was a little kid, his dad used to go off at him when the father's will was not validated. So that guy grew up thinking that a man has the right to act out in a violent way when his will is not validated. Because he has been conditioned, you need to defend your will, or else something bad is going to happen. So when he becomes upset with someone else, because his will is not validated, he's operating in a conditioning that doesn't add up, that he never examined. However, all his relationships are based on expectation, which he calls self-respect. And he never questioned it. The moment he questions it, he would realize that he, just like a crack addict, was seeking relief all the time by acting out in a blunt manner towards others. Then he has to take a responsibility for that also, for what he caused. He can't change what he did, neither can he change the consequence, but he needs to face it. And then there are more things he needs to face. He doesn't want to go through all of this. He doesn't want to be mentally challenged. And then, because then he will also realize that maybe the fiancée he's with now is only with him because she thinks that his bluntness will compensate something for her. She's operating in relief seeking also. So it's not real love, it's just a narcissistic attachment. And this is something he doesn't want to face because he believes that they have something special. So you see now how deep it goes when you face root expectations. That's why a lot of folks don't want to be mentally challenged. They just want to be relieved. They want to be left alone. So what happens is they project their the frustration onto an external object, and they attack the external object to feel relieved. And it works temporarily. And that's what they do, both individually as collectively throughout their lives, and that's how they keep on going. So actually, they're operating in the past. They are physically here in the present, but they're operating in the past because they're operating in expectations that are not updated. And the reason why those expectations are not updated or forfeited if they completely don't apply anymore is because they never examined them. If you ever had people that became upset with you, or they lashed out against you, or they couldn't stand you, or they wanted to harm you, or they had some ill will towards you, or just couldn't stand you, didn't want you around, what's going on? They wanted to control you. Why? Because they didn't want to be mentally challenged. So to avoid a mental challenge, they want to control you so that all the focus goes to you, so that nobody would look at them. Because once people look at them, then they need to explain things that they can't explain. That's why people join hate groups. They externalize the pain onto some external object or to some other people, and then in a group, they go off at those people, and then the people who are targeted are in danger, they're frightened, and they need to look out for them. That's how they exercise control. And by exercising control, they don't have to examine things. Control is all about holding onto the past. Because the real deal, controlling circumstances and consequences, we can't do that. We can manage consequences, we can manage situations, and we can have an influence on them, but really turn them around in our hands, we can't do that. We're not the Most High. So control, when it relates to human beings, is an illusion we cling onto because we don't want to be mentally challenged. If you have, for example, a parent that uses parenting styles that really are not things he or she should do, but he or she does it based on their quote-unquote authority because they are the biological dad or biological mom, then they're holding on to the past. But what's done onto them, they're doing onto the next generation to feel relieved. Because if they have to face what was done onto them, they need to process how it affected them, how they treated others based on how they were affected. Oh, they don't want to face all of that. They don't. They want the easy way out into relief, so they pass it on to the next generation. That's how it often goes. Now listen to what I'm saying here. There are people that will keep you in the past. They won't keep you in the past by keep talking about something that happened. It's not as if they went through a trauma and keep talking about it, about their quote-unquote problems, you just have to take it. It's not like that. Neither is it that there was this great time during high school, you were all laughing together, and now they want to bring back the old times. It's not like that. A lot of folks will keep you in the past because their expectations will bind you. Their expectations will be like a chain on you. And those expectations don't have to be evil. But are they applicable now? Are those expectations practical? Or should you even want those expectations? A lot of folks never look at the bigger picture. That's why they can never put things in context. Look, if you have a soldier that's putting on his uniform, who's about to fight, and you ask him, John, let's say his name's John, where are you going? I'm going to fight the Germans. And then you think, what? Is there a war between Germany and France? Or Britain? Let me say, I use Britain example. He said, yeah, I need to go and fight the Germans. They invaded France. And then you think, huh? It's 2019. It's not 1942. But well, okay, this was a very extreme parable. Someone is in 2019 and they were preparing to fight the Germans. I mean, the Nazi army. Well, it's not in the 1940s anymore. This is a bit extreme, I know it. But that's how a lot of worldly people are. They operate in the past. And look, there's another way people operate in the past without realizing they operate in the past. As I mentioned before, the past is also a concept worldly people use to identify certain things. But this concept, if it's not explained onto them, can be deceptive. I explained already that the past can also be expectations that are not examined nor updated. One way a lot of people operate in the past is by fleeing. They're upset, they're frustrated, and they want to leave. They want to escape. They just want to get rid of things. They are relief-centered. Look, it doesn't matter how assertive someone is. It doesn't matter how intelligent someone is. It doesn't matter how quote-unquote respectful or polite someone is. If the only thing they're doing is fleeing, then they are operating in the past. It doesn't matter how many people you cut off from your life, even if you have a good reason for cutting them off. If that's the only thing you do is cutting things off that upsets you, then you are in the relief seeking. You're not facing things. You're not examining things. You're not putting things into perspective. You're not Christ-centered, and you're not reflecting on what happened, nor are you processing it, so you can't move forward. You can't. You're operating in the past, and a lot of people are operating like this. Years go by, and the same frustration afflicts them over and over again. For example, Henry can be with Jessica now. Relationship ends. Now he's with Francine. Then with Francine it ends. Now he's with Helma. And eventually he marries not Helma but Victoria. And being married with Victoria, he has fights again. And when you look at him, there's a pattern. And the pattern is he doesn't want to face frustration. So it doesn't matter how many people he cut off, how many exes he has. The issue is he is operating in the past. Just because you're fed up with something or someone doesn't mean that the best way to deal with it is to cut someone off or to just walk away. But this world teaches you to look after yourself and to seek relief anytime you're frustrated, because worldly people can't handle frustration. That's why they escalate. That's why they gaslight into all of that. Look, you ought to put things in perspective. You ought to reflect on things, examine things, and then you'll be able to truly process things, and by processing things, you're moving forward. So, you don't leave the past behind. You process the past, and by processing it, you're moving forward in the present, which affects your future for the better. Leaving the past behind is an expression. I may have used it in previous videos. But even then, I explained what I meant. It's not repressing knowledge of what happened, nor denying what happened. Neither does it mean meditating on what happened. It means reflecting on what happened so you can process it and move forward. This ought to be done individually as well as collectively. Most traumas happen collectively, and through the collective it afflicts the individual. You don't have to be somewhere physically to be traumatized by something. You can be traumatized by something that you haven't experienced physically, but because you're traumatized by the reports of it, it now afflicts you physically. That's why it's important to look at the bigger picture. There are folks that will keep you in the past. And that's not your past, okay? That's why the Holy Spirit from time to time will intervene and cut the connections between you and certain people. The Holy Spirit will burn some bridges, and the Holy Spirit will expel some people from you, because those people will keep you in the past. And by keeping you in the past, they will keep you in bondage. They will keep you in the presence of demons, affliction, sickness, all of that. Therefore, agree with Christ and be at peace.